2025 was the best year for movies all decade so far. Except it didn't have a Sonic movie, so can we really call it that? I can certainly understand how some people might prefer 2023, since it had an equal balance of excellent prestige films and incredibly strong blockbusters. Whereas this year wasn't exactly the best on the blockbuster front. I mean, it was pretty good, but I ended up giving a lot of popular movies this year 7 out of 10s. Still a good score, that means I liked them, but I didn't love them. Movies like Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, Superman, Zootopia 2, K-pop Demon Hunters, The Bat, whoops, almost gave it away. Of course, there were a handful of phenomenal blockbusters that combined with an embarrassment of riches on the prestige film front to make this year one for the ages. It was pretty great for TV and video games too, and with a world so rapidly going to shit like this, I would hope the entertainment is at least top notch. It was honestly really hard narrowing this list down to just 20. I mean, I was really emotionally affected by movies like Rental Family and Sorry Baby. The Chainsaw Man movie was one of the sickest things I've ever seen from an action standpoint. The Phoenician Scheme is another wonderfully weird yet wholly sincere and moving Wes Anderson banger. The Ballad of Wallace Island is a wholesome movie where a guy gets invited to a private island by a weirdo billionaire. There has to have been a better way for me to phrase that. I'm sorry. The billionaire is just a silly dude who won the lottery, and he wants the guy and his old songwriting partner that he split up with to give him a private concert. It's sweet, I like it. Left-Handed Girl is really endearing. It was edited and co-written by Sean Baker of Anora fame, and I just really like the way he edits movies. It's also a great directorial debut by his longtime producer Shi Ching-zu. Just a tender and wholesome family dramedy with a pretty shocking ending. The Plague is one of the most horrifying movies I've ever seen. It revolves around 12 and 13-year-old boys bullying each other. I don't think I need to elaborate any more on that. Great movie. Obviously, I very much liked K-pop Demon Hunters and Zootopia 2. I may have talked about those at some point already. But out of this year's crop of Best Animated Feature nominees, Arco and Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, are my two favorites. Both incredibly vivid and expressive films with a lot of charm, and which both got me to cry. Unfortunately, none of the Best Animated Feature nominees this year are making my top 20, which might be a first since I started talking about movies. But at the very least, we have 4 pretty strong films making up this category. What the hell is Elio doing here? Train Dreams is another great film that just barely didn't make the list. It has the best cinematography out of any film I've seen this year. And while I find the narrator to be a little heavy-handed and annoying, the elements of wordless storytelling here are fantastic. It's the kind of movie where you're waiting for there to be a cliche reveal in the plot that'll make you roll your eyes until you realize maybe it's not coming. And that's all I'll say. Great movie, and I'm happy to see it in Best Picture at the Oscars. The same is true for No Other Choice. Oh, wait a minute. I'm honestly shocked this didn't make my top 20, because it is very entertaining in its social satire. Maybe it veered a little too goofy for me to fully connect with it dramatically, but it's still a fantastic film with some absolutely crazy editing and cinematography. Dude, cross dissolves are so awesome. The Long Walk and The Life of Chuck are two really strong and compelling Stephen King adaptations. Hell, based on the first hour, The Life of Chuck probably would have made my top 20. The second hour just wasn't as good, I don't know. And finally, I have to give a special mention to Alice Hart. I saw this at Philly Film Fest. It's a really nice movie reminiscent of Frances Ha, following a Philly college student and her messy interpersonal relationships. Just a really engaging and funny film that I hope gets a wide release sometime. I would have loved to put it in my top 20, but again, this is really tight. I almost wish I could have made this a top 25. But I have to draw the line somewhere, or else these ranking videos will exponentially grow until I come out with a top 50 in a couple years. 2025 was ages ago now. I need to get this video out already. No more rambling. It's ranking time, boy. 20. The Naked Gun is the funniest movie of the year. It really goes to show just how stacked 2025 is, that a movie with that status just barely squeaks into the top 20. But I couldn't leave something this absurd and comedically innovative out. I've only seen the original Naked Gun, but this is a more than worthy legacy sequel. It doesn't rehash too much or play the hits. It just follows in the same spirit as the original with all sorts of insane, hilarious moments. I mean, the snowman. The snowman! Need I say more? Liam Neeson is seriously killing it. He's a great successor to Leslie Nielsen, who was probably only picked because their names are similar, but hey, it worked out. If all legacy sequels were on this level of quality, the world would be a better place. Not by much, because we would still have war and famine and all that, but not having shit movies would still be something at least. 19 Twinless is an immensely funny movie about a guy who's just obsessed with twins for some reason, and who ends up joining a support group for twins whose other twin died, and befriending a twinless twin there. I kinda don't want to explain the plot any further, cause boy is it out there, and boy did it surprise me. I will say, it's kinda like if Dear Evan Hansen was just fully a dark comedy, like if Sincerely Me was the thesis for the entire film. As a result, it's a much more engaging watch that constantly had me giggling, but then blindsides you with some genuinely great and sincere emotional moments. Dylan O'Brien is great in one of the two lead roles, but mainly, this is an awesome showcase for writer, director, producer, co-star James Sweeney. Probably the best movie I've ever seen that uses The Sims to process grief. And let me tell ya, there's some steep competition in that category. Begonia is one of the lesser Yorgos Lanthimos pictures in recent years, in the sense that it's only really great, and not quite an all-timer on the level of Poor Things or The Favorite. I guess I never saw Kinds of Kindness, to be fair. But regardless, this one is comparatively more normal than what I'm used to from this guy. So much so that it took me a little bit to start vibing with it. But once it really gets going and shows its truly insane colors, oh man is it wonderful. Two guys who are obsessed with conspiracy theories think a CEO might be an alien hell-bent on destroying Earth. So they kidnap her and torture her with Green Day music. That's rude. I like Green Day, damn it. Oh, and they also electrocute her. That's probably more so what the torture was meant to be. The performance from Emma Stone, bald, is incredibly strong as expected. But it's Jesse Plemons who really steals the show in this career best performance. He's been doing great work for years, but he's very much been an always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of actor. He's never had a role quite this meaty in anything before. I mean, the closest I can think of is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. But even then, he somewhat plays second fiddle to Jesse Buckley's character. This is the movie that really allows him to steal the show as we learn more and more about what shaped his bizarre belief system and how he ended up the way he did. And they really keep you guessing right to the end about whether he's right or not. Once you find out, it's really interesting thinking back to everything his character did in the film and how it leads to the conclusion it does. Also, I'm sorry if I kind of brushed over Emma Stone, bald. She just does so much daring, incredible work now that I feel like we're all kind of taking it for granted a bit. There's this crazy monologue she has in the film that just blew me away, on top of everything Plemons does. And Aiden Delbus also brings a lot of heart to what's otherwise a very dark and twisted film. Anyway, congratulations to Begonia for being the first Best Picture nominee to make use of Chappell Rowan's Good Luck Babe. Truly, that's the real win.
You know, going to see this many movies has really sapped my funds dry. How am I supposed to enjoy the selections at my mall's local food court? I can't afford anything here. I wish I could have saved my money and optimized my spending when I had a chance. The good news is, you still can, thanks to today's sponsor, Rocket Money.
Rocket Money is an easy-to-use app that helps you save more and manage your money better. As someone who has trouble staying on top of managing my finances, Rocket Money makes it simple by providing a single, high-level view of my finances. I don't have to log into several accounts anymore just to stay up to date. It's all thanks to Rocket Money's great bird's-eye view of your finances in a single app, with both high-level and in-depth account insights.
One day I woke up and realized I could always... There's a train. One day I woke up and realized I could always not be spending money on stuff that I don't want, like unwanted subscriptions I forgot to cancel.
Luckily, Rocket Money is a great way to stay on top of the subscriptions I have, and it can help cancel them with just a few taps. It saves a lot of time and hassle of canceling them myself. Go to rocketmoney.com/ShayForList to start your free premium trial. You can also scan the QR code or click the link in my description. That's rocketmoney.com/ShayForList.
And now, back to the movies. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff.
Weapons is one of the more original horror movies I've seen in quite some time, taking a staggered approach to laying out the perspectives of different characters and how they all connect to this overarching conspiracy. The mystery is such a strong hook because it does defy all explanation. And while the explanation turns out to be supernatural, it's presented in such a cold and chilling way that it absolutely works for what the movie is going for. The cast is all excellent. Obviously, Amy Madigan is the standout, and I'm happy she got an Oscar nomination for this. Dejesus. If she wins, that would be a little weird. I don't think she's that good. But she definitely constructed a super memorable modern-day horror icon in Aunt Gladys. Sometimes the film can be a little long in the tooth. I've seen it twice now, and I started to get a little antsy during the Paul and James parts. I mean, James is really funny, but these parts can feel like a bit too much of a detour. But everything comes together in the most batshit insane climax I've seen all year. It's like the entire 2-hour movie was made just to set up the funniest, most insane punchline imaginable. Wonderful movie. I've never wanted to buy soup less than right after watching it. 6 feet. It Was Just an Accident is a harrowing crime thriller where a steadily growing group of former Iranian prisoners debate what to do with a man who they believe is the same prison guard who tortured them years ago. It has some lighthearted moments and it can feel a little madcap at times, but mainly it's a powerful rebuke of authoritarianism and a meditation on the nature of revenge. You can really feel the weight of the characters hemming and hawing about whether they should go through with killing him, and the implications doing so or not doing so would have. There are a lot of stunning performances in this, and equally amazing long takes that perfectly orient you in the scene without ever cutting away. The director, Jafar Panahi, has already been imprisoned by the Iranian government multiple times and filmed this movie without their permission. It's an amazing feat that he made this at all, let alone made it this great. Like I said, it can feel a little madcap and the plot can stall a bit too often, but it culminates in an intense climax and the single best final scene of the year. Bone-chilling stuff.
Number 15.
I've already reviewed Wake Up Dead Man, and on rewatch, I think I liked it even better. What it lacks compared to the first two movies in terms of the side characters and the subversive way the mystery is laid out, it gains in the best protagonist the series has ever had, and the richest overall themes of the trilogy. It's one of the most engaging and thoughtful meditations on Christianity I've seen in quite some time, and that phone call scene really brings the house down in such a powerful way every time. I also like when Benoit Blanc says Scooby Dooby Doo. That's pretty epic. Watch my review for more details. We got a lot more movies to get through.
Young's just 14.
Soray, A Wife from the Future was a neat discovery on the Letterboxd video store that just opened recently. It's an Indonesian sci-fi film where a man gets visited by a woman who's apparently his wife from the future. So that's why they call it that. I'd probably describe it as the most Makoto Shinkai coded film that wasn't made by Makoto Shinkai. It's sweeping, cosmic, grand, romantic, emotional, just an absolutely tremendous cinematic experience. It's a fascinating deconstruction of the manic pixie dream girl, with the movie really picking up steam once it shifts to her perspective and her internal crisis over whether it's even worth trying to save the man she loves. There's this extended sequence where she just gives up for a while, and it's such a captivating development for her character. Honestly, this is just a tremendously special film, and I don't want to give too much away about it. Or else, what happens to Soray in the film when she tries to give too much away might happen to me. That's a deep cut reference for all you Soray, A Wife from the Future heads.
Number 13.
Neja 2, dog. The biggest animated movie of all time in terms of box office. And the actual film feels large enough to justify it. This thing is maximalism to a T. It is bursting at the seams with so much action, so many raw as hell visuals, such a captivating scale unlike anything I think I've ever seen in 3D animation before. The mid-credit scene alone is like 10 minutes. I mean, they did not skimp out on this one. Maybe parts of it could be condensed, and the excessively kiddie jokes in the first half don't mesh the best with the second half, but it does help the shock of that tonal shift later on to really land. Absolutely tremendous film. I already talked about it though, we gotta pick up the pace. Moving on.
14.
12. 14.
I really wasn't expecting that much from Eternity. I mean, it seemed like a cool concept, but I just didn't know it would be this clever and emotionally effective. It reminds me a lot of The Good Place. We get to see a uniquely corporate interpretation of the afterlife, where people who die have to pick one type of eternity to spend their life in forever. And how will this woman decide between her first husband who died young, or her second husband that she spent 65 years with? It's a really good question to build an entire film around. One where I honestly wasn't sure what the best answer was, and I kept going back and forth about it. Both of the husbands can be real assholes, and I started to wonder if neither was the option to go through. But I do like how a definitive choice is made by the end. And it's one that feels justified based on all the growth all three characters exhibit over the course of the film. The performances are great too. I love the main trio, but Da'Vine Joy Randolph honestly really steals the show as one of the Afterlife coordinators. I also really like how Miles Teller just gives a really good old man performance at the beginning before he gets used to his younger body again. It's a compelling, creative, funny, and ultimately very emotionally sincere film. It honestly surprised me how much I enjoyed it. Seriously, if you still missed The Good Place over half a decade later, this is very much worth your time to check out.
Number 11.
I kinda hate when film Twitter is right about a movie, but here we are. I've seen them hail 28 years later as an absolute masterpiece for months now, while a lot of the reception elsewhere seems a bit more mutedly positive. But after finally giving it a watch, yeah, no, I'm definitely leaning more towards the masterpiece category. This is a terrifying, ever-waking nightmare of a film, with some deeply unconventional editing and cinematography choices. In the wrong hands, these could have looked so stupid, but thankfully, they look sick as hell. Every weird-ass camera spin whenever one of the infected is killed made me feel alive. The first hour is gripping enough on its own, but it's that unconventional, quietly powerful pilgrimage during the second half that's really sticking with me. It's one of the more powerful and potent coming-of-age stories I've seen in quite some time. One where I can clearly pinpoint Spike's evolution throughout the narrative, to the point where his final decision in the film makes a ton of sense. This Alfie Williams kid does a great job playing him, on top of the excellent Jodie Comer and Ralph Fiennes performances. I'm really excited to see more of his character in The Bone Temple. I don't know anything about that one other than the fact that The Bone Temple is the best subtitle of all time. Also, I should probably watch the original 28 Days Later. I kinda committed the cardinal sin of jumping in with the third installment. And for that, I apologize. I have made a severe and continuous lapse in judgment. I don't expect to be forgiven. Maybe I can distract you from this heinous action by talking about 10 other movies. My favorite animated film of the year is an absolutely incredible Korean Netflix film centering around music and romance. Lost in Starlight! I swear, if any other distributor had their hands on this movie, it could probably get some awards traction. But, you know Netflix. They have their golden child, and that's the only animated film they're gonna drum up a campaign for this year. I'm not mad. Well, okay, maybe I am a little, just because I wish this movie got more attention. The depiction of the future on Earth is cool, as are the interstellar concepts later in the film. But at its core, this is just a beautiful, tender romance between two souls who found each other, despite going in different directions. Their chemistry is so strong, both in their happiest moments together and in their inevitable argument, where you perfectly understand where both of them are coming from. I like seeing how life goes on, even after they're forced to go incredibly long distance from each other. And the powerful nature of their bond is supplemented with some truly breathtaking visuals across the entire film. When they kiss in the elevator, oh man, oh wow, that's cinema right there. Nothing really prepared me for the deeply insane, nerve-wracking climax, where I legitimately didn't know what was gonna happen. I won't say anymore, but damn, I was sweating. I was fully sucked into the world this movie presented, and I never wanted to leave. Please give this movie a watch, and don't watch the dub, it's kinda bad. Actually, I haven't seen the Neja 2 dub, but don't watch that either, because if it's anything like the first movie's dub, it's probably also bad. If Eternity was a shock to the system in terms of how much I enjoyed it, Roofman was a lightning bolt from the heavens. Holy shit, what a fantastic movie. It seemed like such a goofy premise, and apparently based on a true story account of a robber who escaped from prison and then lived in Toys R Us for 6 months. How? What? Huh? Obviously parts of the story are embellished for dramatic effect. Like, I could definitely tell the way he gets caught in the end wasn't really how it happened in reality, but damn did it make for such a compelling and sad moment. The whole movie is a really sympathetic story about a criminal who isn't all that bad deep down, and I loved watching his attempt to start a new life despite every alarm bell that should have been going off and telling him this was a bad idea. It's also just really fun seeing this childlike whimsy-filled premise actually play out. Like, he's seriously living the dream of 10-year-olds everywhere, and it's cool to see the lengths he goes to to make it work. I find it very funny that he bangs Mary Jane and then he goes back to his Spider-Man themed fortress in a movie that takes place the same year Spider-Man 2 came out. Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst are fantastic, and there's a lot of great performances from the supporting cast like Lakeith Stanfield, Peter Dinklage, Ben Mendelsohn. For some reason, one of the employees at the McDonald's he robs is played by Lobby Boy from Grand Budapest Hotel. I think that's my biggest problem with the movie. It needed more Tony Revolori. He's barely in it. Actually, no. My biggest problem with the movie is the fact that he gives Kirsten Dunst's daughter a copy of The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures in order to bond with her, but he calls it 4 Swords. That's a different game, Channing Tatum, you idiot! It says Adventures right there on the box! Boy, I hope someone got fired for that blunder. One of my favorite things in Oscar season is when a heavily musical theater focused film gets into the conversation. Usually that comes in the form of an actual musical, but considering how Wicked for Good is lying dead on the side of a ditch with vultures circling around it, the honor this year goes to Blue Moon. A very talky, stage play coded film centered on Lauren's Hart, the former songwriting partner of Richard Rodgers, who was tossed aside and forgotten in favor of Rodgers' far more famous collaborations with Oscar Hammerstein. Ethan Hawke brings Lauren's Hart to life in a truly stirring, committed, unforgettable performance. He perfectly straddles the line between larger than life and lower than dirt. He talks a big game with such eloquent, flowery dialogue, but he can't escape the fact that he's a sad, pathetic little man. Literally, the staging is so great because they make him look so short in this. He'll even sit down in certain scenes to get even lower, not even noticing that he's doing it. He's just so captivating, and you would hope so because the entire movie rides on his shoulders. The supporting cast is all great, but he's truly exceptional. And it's a wonderful directorial feat from Richard Linklater, probably my favorite film of his since the Before trilogy. And the script by Robert Kaplow is also a winner, even if it randomly shoves in the fact that Lauren's Hart apparently inspired the author of Stuart Little to create Stuart Little. Is that actually true? I did really like the young Stephen Sondheim cameo though. It was subtle enough that I actually missed it on my first viewing. Mainly though, what really makes this film truly special is the fact that Lauren's Hart hates the musical Oklahoma as much as I do, and goes on long tangents about how much it sucks. Thank you! Oh my god, we did this my sophomore year of high school and everyone hated it. I know it was revolutionary or whatever, but god, it's just so saccharine. I find it shallow and pedantic. The Curly and Judd dynamic is kind of interesting, but that's it. I can't stand this show. I had a fun part though. I got to play Ado Annie's father and I pointed a shotgun at someone and said, "Shut your face." So that was cool. Oh my god, the show is so ass though. Who up Franken der Stein? I already reviewed this movie, so I won't say too much on it. But yeah, it still holds up really well for me. It's not the perfect adaptation of the book I would have wanted, but I think it's a wonderful marriage of some of the book's most iconic elements with Guillermo del Toro's unique sensibilities as a filmmaker. Also, I reject the claim that Oscar Isaac is bad in it. I really like him as Victor. Obviously, Jacob Elordi really steals the show though. I wasn't sure the Academy was gonna go for him for playing a character like this, but they've gotten pretty cool when it comes to horror lately. Literally a quarter of the nominees this year are from horror films. That's awesome. Yeah, great movie. I love Del Toro's vision for it. I'll probably rank his filmography later this year, so I'll have even more to say about this film soon enough. I'm just really glad I caught it in theaters. But, you know, I guess watching it on your couch at home is cool too. Thanks, Ted Sarandos. Number 6. Oh my god, I've been waiting for so long to talk about this one. It Ends is an indie film you might have heard of since it was one of the first movies available to rent on the Letterboxd video store. But I actually caught it at the Philly Film Fest back in October, and I was kind of floored by it. It's an incredibly simple premise. 4 friends in a car are stuck together on a seemingly endless road. How are they gonna get out? Is the road leading to somewhere? Does it end? And most importantly, how long can they realistically last trudging along on this possibly endless grind? It features such a genius tonal shift where it starts out like a bona fide horror film. There's an immediate threat on top of the encroaching fear of the unknown. And then at some points, the movie mellows out as the characters start to accept the way things are. And isn't that the perfect encapsulation of our generation? Everything is falling apart. Our prospects are rapidly evaporating before our eyes. We tell ourselves to just keep going, and eventually it has to work out. It has to end. But ultimately, to paraphrase the director at the film festival Q&A, the best thing we have left to do is vibe with our friends. The movie itself is seriously such a vibe. The young unknown actors are so good and have such strong chemistry. And this movie probably has the closest dialogue I've ever seen to just how me and my friends talk. I also think it has the biggest individual laugh I've gotten out of any movie this year. No offense to Naked Gun. I don't want to give it away, but I think you'll know it when you see it. Overall, I'm just so excited for more people to discover this surprise banger. I thought I would be the only one of my friends who would be able to see it for years. So I was overjoyed when it was announced for the Letterboxd video store, and I showed it to all of them. Apparently Neon is also picking it up for a theatrical release, so please support it if you can. It's so good, you guys. Please.
Kind of thinking this felt like maybe purgatory.
Eddie, Purgatory Theory.
I saw 8 movies at Philly Film Fest this year. Not exactly the best haul anyone has ever had at a film festival, but hey, this was literally my first one, cut me some slack. And for a while, I thought It Ends would be my favorite out of the whole fest. But the very last movie they showed edged it out. You may have heard of it. It's a 9-time Academy Award nominated drama Sentimental Value, featuring Stellan Skarsgård from Mamma Mia and other movies, I assume. This is a tender yet devastating family drama about a famous director who neglected his daughters for years in pursuit of his career, desiring to make amends in the only way he knows how, by casting one of them in the lead role for an upcoming film of his. But she has a lot of problems of her own that largely stem from his poor parenting, and now wants nothing to do with him if she can help it. The best element of this movie is how authentic it feels. There isn't a single moment that's too showy. There's no big blowout argument or giant emotional breakdown. Everything feels more subdued. A true reflection of lives filled with resentment and regret, yet also genuine love and care that might be buried down too deep to even recognize at first glance. You want to see Skarsgård get through to Renata Reinsve with this offering of reconciliation, but based on the writing and her subdued yet powerful performance, you perfectly understand why she refuses. And when he brings in a famous American actress played by Elle Fanning to play the lead in his movie, you start wondering, ooh, is the daughter gonna get jealous that she's kind of been replaced? But of course not. This isn't that kind of movie. The two are completely amicable, despite Reinsve continuing to feel conflicted, and Fanning slowly coming to the mature realization that she might not be right for the part. I feel like a lesser movie would have painted her out to be the antagonist, but she's just as sympathetic as the rest of the characters. There's an incredibly impactful bond between the two sisters that shines through in an exceptional scene that seems so inconsequential on paper. Skarsgård doesn't get any big emotional lament about how his dream project is falling apart, but you don't need that because he conveys his sorrow so subtly and effectively. It's awesome that he got his first Oscar nomination ever for this at the age of 74. Though I'm just gonna pretend he got in for Andor. I don't know about you guys. Overall though, this is a wonderful film that'll sneak up on you in terms of emotionally devastating you in the moment and then lingering in your mind long after it's done. Somehow, this is only my 4th favorite Best Picture nominee. Oh my god, what a stacked year. The more I ruminate on Sinners, the better it gets. I thought it was great the first time, but not only did a lot of its metaphors fly over my head, I thought it was a little lopsided with how long it took to set up the juke joint versus how much time we spend there and how much time it takes for the vampires to show up. But repeat viewings really allowed me to get sucked into how meticulously it builds these characters up, only to knock them down in an absolutely terrifying manner. The metaphor about assimilation is one of the most clever and thought-provoking things I've seen in a movie all year, and it heavily elevates what's an already really cool vampire movie. I got the biggest smile on my face when I realized we were going by classic rules of vampires having to be invited in. That rules, dude. It's incredible how Ryan Ryan Coogler kept that limitation in place, and yet still made them horrifically intimidating. When Sammy tries to defeat them with the Lord's Prayer, and they all just start reciting it because it can't hurt them. Oh my god, dude. Between this and Pluribus, it was a really good year for hive minds. The music in this film is phenomenal. Obviously, the I Lied to You sequence is a real all-timer, and it's crazy how hard the Irish jigs go as well. The ensemble is incredible here. They all have such great rapport with each other, and everyone's bringing their A-game individually. I wouldn't even say either Michael B. Jordan individually is as good as his fellow Oscar nominees from this film, but the fact that he's so seamlessly playing two different versions of himself that feel so distinct from each other, like hell yeah dude, he's totally justified being a nominee. The only real issue I take with the film is that I wish Sammy was a little more focused on. Like, part of me feels like the two Michael B. Jordans take a bit too much of the focus away from the kid, who should clearly be the main character. Otherwise, this is phenomenal. An absolute all-timer, and easily Ryan Coogler's best film to date. I would make a video ranking them, but he only has like 5. Here's the ranking from worst to best. Wakanda Forever, Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, Creed, Sinners. Love the guy. I will be watching everything he makes forever. If I Had Legs I'd Kick You is another ever-waking nightmare from which there is no escape. Rose Byrne gives straight up my favorite performance of the year. Portraying a mother who the movie goes to painstaking lengths to show is clearly not cut out for this. It's not entirely her fault. I mean, her husband isn't around, the roof is collapsing, her therapist Conan O'Brien is an asshole, and through it all, she has to take care of her daughter who has a feeding disorder, which is just one more thing on the pile of anxieties that overwhelm and consume her. I love so much about how this movie is directed. Like, we straight up don't even see the kid, which is a great way to portray how distracted Linda is from taking care of her. The editing and the way more issues are piled on top of each other as the film goes on is also wonderfully horrific. Plus, it's an occasionally funny film. Not to the point where I think it should have been up for the comedy categories at the Globes. I fucking hate the Globes, dude. But it is certainly a wonderful concoction of good funny bits, overwhelming terror, upsetting drama, and an absolute dynamite performance from an actress at the top of her game. Look, I really like Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. She does give a great performance, but I feel like it's also a case of most acting being the one people are going for, when Rose Byrne clears her pretty handily in terms of best acting. Incredible film. I don't know where the hell writer-director Mary Bronstein came from, considering she hasn't made a movie in 17 years, only to come back with this exceptionally well-written and well-directed banger. But I'm not complaining. I wish I could say this was the best anxiety-inducing masterpiece written by a Bronstein this year, but unfortunately, her husband kinda co-wrote a slightly better movie that fits that criteria. Marty Supreme. When that egg in the opening credits became a ping pong ball, I knew the movie was gonna be an all-timer. I have not been able to stop thinking about this movie for months. It just goes absolutely sicko mode in a way you would never expect a movie about a table tennis player to go. Following the tradition of Good Time and Uncut Gems, we have a Safdie protagonist who's just the absolute biggest prick. But he's got such blinding charisma that it's hard to resist rooting for him. This is the best Timothée Chalamet performance, bar none. He never relents in his gripping, energetic portrayal of this arrogant, misguided child, who unfortunately really does have the skills to back up his shit-talking. The side cast is great, especially Odessa A. Zion, who miraculously meets Chalamet's level in key scenes. And the guy from Shark Tank, who was not acting. He actually sucks this bad in real life. Hell, he's probably even worse in real life than his character is in the movie. But damn it, that vampire line he improvised might just be the best line of 2025. Anyway, the editing and the score are phenomenal, the crazy escalations of the plot are mind-boggling, the fact that the movie has so many plates in the air in terms of the stuff that's happening, and it juggles all of them so well, despite the fact that all of them are so insane! Who the f*** is that guy with the dog, bro? Why did he turn out to be a f***ing evil mastermind? And is that Penn Jillette as the guy with the gun? So many of the casting decisions in this movie are ridiculous, but they work so well. The only thing that could have made it better is if Adam Sandler had a cameo as the pawn shop guy Marty tried to sell the necklace to. That would have been sick, dude. It's a long movie, but it doesn't become dull for a second. And it all culminates in the single most exhilarating third act of the decade so far. I was glued to my seat. I couldn't believe what I was watching. catching. And after that insane high, we end the film off with probably the best needle drop of the decade. Or maybe the best needle drop was Under Pressure and After Sun. It's a tie. Or maybe it's the opening credits of this movie. God, it's just so hard. There's just so much to talk about. It's an absolutely phenomenal experience. This honestly would have been my #1 movie of any other year this decade. But this is 2025, bitch. You know what #1 is. Just like my game and TV show top picks, deciding on this was the easiest shit in the world. It is, of course, one battle after another. The reason I ranked it in this spot is because it has one in the title, so I would look like an idiot if I put it anywhere else. Yeah, as you can probably tell from what I said about Marty Supreme basically being my #2 movie of the decade, this is my #1 movie of the decade. I talked about it already in the Paul Thomas Anderson ranking, where it didn't even rank #1, mind you, so I suppose you could check that out for even further context. But just to briefly summarize here, no other movie this year has met the moment quite like this one. The world is so beyond in trouble right now, and a lot of us have become like Bob, laying low after it became clear we weren't gonna make more than a dent. But that's what makes a character like Willa so inspiring. Someone who will never stop fighting, never stop staring adversity down and mocking a perpetuator of terror directly to his face. She is the heart and soul of this film. A true hero in every sense of the word. Seeing her save herself as Bob tries his best to even catch up is beautiful. Seeing the community and network Sensei has built up over the years is beautiful. Just about everything in this film is so intricately crafted and meticulously well laid out. From the dynamics and performances of the characters to the exceptional technical aspects like the score and editing. And it's one of the funniest films of the year. I cannot get over Leo's phone call scene, dude. If this doesn't win PTA at least a Oscar, then you might as well shut the Academy down, dude. I don't even mind if Sinners takes Best Picture, but just please give PTA Director and Adapted Screenplay. And Teyana Taylor supporting actress, she is insane in this. Everyone's great, Chase Infinity should be nominated in Best Actress, but it doesn't even matter that she isn't, because her performance, much like this movie, will live on for decades. This is a staggering achievement from a filmmaker at the top of his game. And, much like basically everyone else who saw it, it's my pick for the best movie of 2025. I guess all that's left to do now is wait and see if my favorite movie of the year actually wins Best Picture for the first time ever. Even if it somehow goes to Sinners though, that would be a real all-timer too. I just love when good movies are in contention for the Oscars. Why isn't that just a given every year? Oh well, see you for that. Good night, Tri-State area.